You're gonna love them. You're gonna love them. Today we are doing it. We are ranking my Pat McGrath Mothership palettes. We are doing it. I have already tried to film this video. This is my third time, and each time before this I've just walked away being like, no one got anything out of that. Like, honestly, no one did. So today is the day we are gonna do it. I am determined. Before we get started, let's go ahead and do the YouTubey things. You can give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you enjoy my videos. Thank you so much if you do. I truly appreciate it. This channel is just all about good old-fashioned makeup fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously around here. We just have fun. And let's just go ahead and get started. I have 6 of the Mothership palettes. I believe there is 8 in total. I do not have the Decadence one, and I do not have the first one. I actually would like to get the first one now that I've looked at it more. I feel like I really do want that in my collection. But Decadence I definitely don't want in my collection because it doesn't have any of the special unique shades that Pat has. And I'm just not interested in the color scheme, to be completely honest with you. If you're interested in the makeup that I'm wearing, I have filmed a tutorial on this. It'll either be up before or after. So if it's up already, I'll link it down there. If it is not though, I will subscribe and stay tuned. Now, it's been really hard for me to rank these because I love all of these individually for different reasons, and I would use them for different reasons, if that kind of makes sense. So it has been quite hard for me to order them, and the order has changed quite a lot over the last month when I've been trying to film this video. And I think what I've settled on is I'm going to rank these based on kind of like the most everyday usable, for me, in my opinion, kind of ranking. Does that make sense? Because I think what you guys are probably looking for, especially if you're coming and watching this video, looking for like which Pat McGrath palette should I get, I think probably most of you are going to be looking for a palette that you can use on the everyday. So I've really tackled this from like an everyday wearable makeup user and what you would get the most out of. So starting at number 6. Number 6 for me is the Pat McGrath Subversive palette. Now this is the outer packaging. It's like a hot pink kind of punk rocky outer packaging, and it very much suits that vibe of the palette. So this is the actual palette itself, and as you can see, it is like a very grungy, punk rockery, colorful type palette. Now I personally, when I want to go to create a look, this is one of the first ones that I go to grab, because these 4 shades right here are just something so freaking special. It's not funny. And the one thing that I really love about this palette is that what these look like in the pan, like how pigmented they look, is they come like out like that on the eye. So when you use these shades on your eye, they just are so opaque and pigmented. It is absolutely amazing. Now the reason why this palette is number 6 is because there's not really a whole lot of everyday wearable colors in here, is there? To be completely honest with you, it's definitely not. Now if you were someone that's going to wear color every single day and you really are like embodying that kind of like darker, smokier kind of vibes, then you are gonna really love this palette, and this might be an everyday palette for you. But for me, I wouldn't personally like rock these shades on the everyday, like going to work, that kind of a thing. But for like my creative looks, when I'm doing them for Instagram or I'm just playing around with makeup at home, I freaking adore this palette. Number 5 is Sublime. Now Sublime, fun fact, this outer packaging for Sublime is actually my favorite out of the whole lot, but I mean, she's changed it now, so it doesn't really matter, and it is just outer packaging. But if you wanted to know, this is actually my favorite outer packaging. It really reminds me of True Blood. I don't know if any of you watched True Blood or read the books. I read the books. The show was a little bit too full on for me, but the books I loved. And yeah, it reminds me of True Blood. But anyway, side note, I digress. Now this is Sublime. I'm not gonna hold it up too straight because some of these pans do fall out. This is the only palette I have of Pat's where the pans aren't glued in properly. This is Sublime. Now, fun fact, this is actually the most watched video on my channel, is me testing this palette out, and I can see why. It's just freaking beautiful. It really is. The only reason why for me this is number 5 is because I just don't reach for it as much as I do the other 4 that I'm going to talk about, and I just really think it comes down to, honestly, that it just has these darker mattes in here and it doesn't really, like, it's not as easily wearable as it is, as the other palettes, sorry, that I have are. In saying that though, like, holy damn, this freaking green is the best green eyeshadow you will ever come across. I'm not kidding you. It is the most spectacular shadow. I think that this green is honestly almost my favorite shadow in all of these palettes, honestly, because it is, oh, I just don't even think I'm going to be able to get this to swatch as good as it is. Like, look at it. Look. It is the most spectacular green you will ever come across, honestly. Even the pink and the gold in this palette is really, really pretty as well. Like, look at them. Woo, they're so metallic, and that's the other really, really good thing about all of Pat McGrath's shadows is if you wet the brush and use this, like use these shadows on your eye, they really do come out like that wet metallic look, and they're so opaque, like every single one of her palettes. It's so, so good. Okay, so moving on to number 4, and honestly, the other 2 times I filmed this video, this palette was actually ranked at number 6. And then I used it today on my eyes in conjunction with Divine Rose 2. And I really was like, no, you know what? On the everyday, I actually reached for this palette more than I thought I ever would. So number 4 is Divine Rose 1. Now, if you've watched any of my review videos, you know that Divine Rose 1 has never really been my fave. It's never really been one that I've kind of always just said, like, it's definitely not my favorite, if that kind of makes sense. And it's still kind of true, but I feel like I'm just kidding myself when I say that, because honestly, these 4 shades here, and even these shades down here, they're so pretty. They're so, so pretty. They really suit my eyes. They work wonderfully. Like, I've got this shade right here all over my lid today, and it's just, it's really an everyday wearable palette. It really, really is, especially if you are someone that loves those like deeper, smokier, purpley colors, then this is really the palette for you, because you're going to get a lot of use out of it. And it's got this, like, on my inner corner, I'm wearing this color right here, and it's like the most beautiful pinky duochrome color. It's so surprising on the eye what this looks like versus what it looks like in the pan. And I'm just honestly, like, it looks very, it almost looks colorful when you kind of look at it, but when you get it and you play around with it, it's very, it is really quite muted, but it's just special. All right, so number 3 for me is usually, anytime I've watched any of these videos, number 3, this is always like people's favorite one. Always, always, always. And I can see why. I really, really can. And it is hard. Like, the top 3 for me are kind of hard to pick between, but I stand by my choice of making Bronze Seduction number 3. Okay, so Bronze Seduction is number 3 for me. Here is what it looks like on the inside. I feel like this is one of Pat's most popular Mothership palettes, aside from maybe Divine Rose 2. This is what it looks like, and it is, oh, it is so beautiful, you guys. It really is. These shades are just like, what? They're insane. They are insane. And it is a beautiful, beautiful palette. And the only reason for me it is number 3 is because these like tones here are just a little bit too dark for me on the everyday. I do tend to lean towards more lighter eye looks on the everyday, because I do have hooded eyes. If I go too dark, it can just be a little bit too much for me. So this is really good when I want to go like out at night or do like a more glam look or a deeper, smokier look. Then this is a really, really good palette for that. But on the everyday, for my skin tone, it's just not something that I'm going to reach for. But in saying that, if you're darker skin tone than me, then this is going to be a beautiful everyday palette for you. And then I can totally see why this would be like number 1 for you, for example. Now, my all-time favorite shade in this palette is this shade right here. And actually, I think this is probably like my second favorite shade, if not my favorite shade of all of the palettes. It is so special. And the other thing is, like, how often do you wear reds on the daily? You know what I mean? Like, these reds, don't get me wrong, are freaking phenomenal. Like, look at them. Look at the reds. Like, they're gorgeous. They're so opaque. They're so beautiful. But honestly, this shade right here is where it's at. Camera is never going to do this justice. This is one of those shades that you just have to see in real life and swatch yourself in real life. But It is absolutely amazing. And even this one right here, just bathed all over the lid on its own, is incredible. It is the most incredible shade, this one. This video is gonna be so long, I'm so sorry. But I'm really trying to give you guys the deets, you know? I hope that you guys like it. Anyway, okay. All right, down to the pointy end, we've only got 2 left. Now, number 2 is Divine Rose 2. Ta-da. So, I mean, I love the packaging. Look at it. How can you not? I love all her packaging. Like, how can you not? Okay, so this is Divine Rose 2. Now, when you look at this, you would be like, girl, how are you telling me that this is an everyday wearable palette? Like, look at how bright it is. But honestly, cover up this pink and you see very quickly how wearable it is. These 2 mattes right here, I'm wearing those 2 mattes on my eyes right now. They are brilliant for everyday wear. They're so brilliant. And this color right here as well, I love it as a blush. It is so pretty as a blush. And these are just, yeah, I love wearing soft pinky tones on the everyday. And this is just the perfect transition shade. And this one is perfect to like deepen up a look without it being like super, super, super deep. So yeah, I love the mattes in this palette. I love the pinks. This is a trio chrome, which you're probably not going to quite be able to see on camera. It is gorgeous, this trio chrome. These are the 4 special shades in this palette. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this like trio chrome in effect on camera, but it is really gorgeous. But you can just see how wet these metallics look. Like, they are so good. This is just, and like when you swatch these, you can really see how easily wearable they are on the everyday. Even that trio chrome, honestly, it doesn't shift to a color that's not wearable, if that kind of makes sense. I've used a conjunction of Divine Rose 1 and Divine Rose 2 on my eyes today, and I'm just going to show you guys how am I going to do this? I just want to show you guys, like, this is Divine Rose 1 and Divine Rose 2 kind of together, and you can kind of see together these palettes make really, really good, like, sister palettes. So I think if you were looking to even pick up 2 of the palettes and see kind of like what they look like, these are, I'm not doing a good job of holding these up, am I? These are really good palettes to use in conjunction with each other. Like you would expect, they're made for each other, like Divine Rose 1 and Divine Rose 2. So yeah, I do really, really like those. I think they're really worthwhile having in your collection, especially if you are a pink lover. You're gonna love them. You're gonna love them. All right, and that just leaves number 1, and number 1 is Midnight Sun, which, I mean, I again adore the packaging. Midnight Sun for me, I mean, I love that Midnight Sun is truly my favorite, because Midnight Sun, this is Midnight Sun, by the way, if you haven't seen it before, is actually the first Mothership palette that I ever tried. I spent so long watching reviews of Pat McGrath Mothership palette videos, looking at the pictures on the web, looking at swatches on the web, all of that kind of stuff, trying to figure out which one I should get first, because they are so expensive. And I have wanted one for years. Ever since they first came out, I have wanted one, but I just never would like pull the trigger. And my partner got me this for our anniversary. And I finally decided, okay, I was like, yep, Midnight Sun it is. And I know looking at this, you're probably thinking, how is this number 1? Like, you know, it's got that purple. But again, take this purple away. It is the most wearable palette, especially for my skin tone. It's the most wearable palette out of the lot. I use these 2 shades pretty much every single day. This palette lives on my desk, literally, because this shadow I quite often use as my brow color as well. It's like the most perfect cool tony brown. I've used this color today just to even deepen up my lash line here. I quite often use this as like a small subtle wing, like or like a wing liner on my eye if I want something that's quite natural looking. This is the perfect transition shade for like my skin tone. So even if I'm using other pat palettes, I usually dip into this one first, even just for this transition shade. And again, this is a beautiful deeper like matte color as well for deepening up the crease. Then you have like these 2 beautiful like bronzy color and a champagne color, which is very everyday wearable and something that you can create a more sultry, smoky look. You've got this olive green, which for me, I know some people are probably like, that's not everyday wearable, but for me, like, I mean, even the top that I'm wearing, army green or like that khaki green is very, very like everyday wearable for me. I have no problem rocking that, and I quite like to, because I'm just a green lover, can you tell? Even my nails are green right now. I didn't realize how much I love the color green until like recently, I've got to be honest. And then you've got the most beautiful 4 unique shades. This purple is gorgeous. Like if you want to pop a color, if you want a palette that basically you could take anywhere with you and you can create an everyday simple look, a very glam like nighttime look, a wedding look, a work look, a brunch look, or just like a really fun pop of color look, then this is the palette for you, because you've got like the purple, you've got the smoky sultry colors, you can really do it all. You've got the gold, you've got the glitter. This copper is so stunning on the eyes. It's just incredible. Look at these shades. Look at how special they are. Honestly, like the gold is perfect, the copper is perfect, the purple is perfect. I love it. I love it so, so much. It's, I love it. I love it so much. I love that it has 3 mattes. I would love to see Pat come out with an all matte palette. Like maybe not so much, it doesn't have to be a Mothership, but just like an all matte palette, because I think that's the only thing missing. And I understand you don't buy the Mothership palettes for the mattes, but it would be nice to have an all matte palette that really just covers off all of the basic colors that you would need to like use in conjunction with her Mothership palettes, because I do find that I need to constantly reach into other palettes for the mattes. So it would be nice to have like an all matte Mothership palette that you could just use that in conjunction with all of her other Mothership palettes, and it would be just like perfection, you know? You wouldn't need anything else in your collection. Okay guys, I did it. I ranked my Mothership palettes. There you go. I hope that this video was enjoyable. I hope that you found it interesting and helpful, especially if you are still looking at purchasing, you know, a Mothership palette, or if you're looking at adding to your Mothership palette collection. I hope that you found it helpful, other than me just gushing about how much I love them. And I know that that's kind of annoying, because honestly, I do. I love every single one of these palettes so, so much. I really can't stress that. But I also understand how expensive they are, and I can't tell you if they're worth it, because everyone's value of $1 is so different, so only you can decide that for yourself. All I can tell you is that for me, I absolutely adore them. If she drops a Mothership palette tomorrow, I can bet you bottom dollar that I will be picking it up at full price regardless, because I just love them so much. So yeah, that is my ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Was my ranking what you thought it would be if you have come along this journey with me? Was it? Would you rank it differently? Like, just let's have a conversation about them, especially if you love them as much as I do. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It means the absolute world to me. I am positive this video was super long, so if you were watching till this point, you are an absolute legend. Thank you so much, and I hope that you have an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye!